Imagine pushing your body and your mind to the absolute limit, where every second counts and every decision can mean the difference between success and failure. This isn't just a test of physical endurance, it's a crucible that forges leaders under fire. I'm talking about one of the most grueling and transformative experiences known to humanity. And no, that's not an exaggeration. I'm talking about Navy SEAL training. And if you know anything about it, you know that it is intense. From the moment that candidates arrive at training, they are thrust into a world designed to challenge their limits. Freezing cold ocean waters, relentless physical challenges, and a barrage of mental tests, all orchestrated to strip away all comfort and reveal the core of resilience and determination. As the sun rises, they face the infamous Hell Week, a grueling 5.5-day marathon of sleep deprivation, teamwork, and pain. And it's during Hell Week where they learn that true leadership isn't just about individual strength. It's about camaraderie. It's about trust. It's about pushing through what feels impossible and not doing that alone, but alongside your fellow soldiers. From an early age, I knew that I wanted to spend my life doing something important. I wanted to be on the front lines of the war raging between good and evil. And nothing was going to stop me from waking up every day and fighting that good fight. I had a buddy in high school who was in weight training class with me, and he was training for becoming a SEAL. And so I asked him, hey, can you give me your program? I'd love to try it out. And so I spent that summer getting in the best shape of my life. And I genuinely thought that I would pursue a career as a Navy SEAL. Little did I know that God had other plans for my life. As a man of faith, I felt called to fight a different kind of battle, a spiritual one. No other calling could have pulled me away from my dream of being a SEAL at the time. Now, I realize now that the battle between good and evil can be fought in many ways across every sector. However, I do believe that the fight is won or lost with leadership. In this episode, we're going to delve into the heart of a Navy SEAL and uncover leadership lessons that go far beyond the battlefield. What does it take to lead under pressure? How can the principles of SEAL training be applied to your own leadership journey? And I think what you're going to find is that today's episode may just change the way you think about leadership forever. I know that it did for me. And I want to say on the front end that I am indebted to the work of Admiral William H. McRaven, Jocko Willink, David Goggins, Chris Kyle. There's a reason that these men have captivated so many people. It's because their stories are just remarkable. And their experiences and commitment to documenting those experiences have not only inspired the content of this episode, but also inspired me personally, along with many, many others in our own leadership journey. I'm going to leave a list of their work in the description below if you want to explore their experience further. That's not an affiliate thing. I just obviously highly recommend them for anyone in leadership or anyone looking to grow in leadership. They're just some phenomenal books. All right, today I'm going to break down 5 leadership lessons directly inspired by the training and experience of the Navy SEALs that I mentioned. And if we can understand and apply these 5 lessons to our lives, oh my goodness, it'll be life-changing. Let's jump in. Lesson number 1. Discipline builds resilience. Discipline is all about commitment. Even when things get hard, you stay committed. When you stay committed through adversity, you build up tolerance to adversity. And there's a word for that. It's called resilience. Resilience is the ability to sustain ambition in the face of adversity. Resilience is about building up a tolerance for discomfort and pain and hardship. Navy SEALs not only teach us the value of resilience, but they also teach us that we can actually build our resilience through disciplined training. Navy SEALs undergo a meticulously structured training regimen that is designed to push candidates well beyond their perceived limits. In the face of extreme physical and mental challenges, SEALs learn to embrace discomfort. They're conditioned to understand that resilience is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to persevere through it. Man, that is just a powerful mindset, right? That mindset is obviously reinforced through discipline. By committing to their training and pushing through pain, they develop an enduring strength that allows them to face adversity head on, not just in training, but in real world scenarios. If you want to be a resilient leader, you need to be disciplined. You need to embrace discomfort. You need to do hard things in order to be someone who can do hard things. You know, when I reflect on my own life, it's easy to see when my resilience was developed. It's through the hard things. It's waking up at 4:30 a.m. to go to the gym. I mean, that's built a lot of resilience in me. Graduate school built a lot of resilience in me. The passing of loved ones has built resilience. You know, it reminds me of a passage found in the Bible. It says, "Consider yourselves fortunate when all kinds of trials come your way, for you know that when your faith succeeds in facing such trials, the result is the ability to endure." So make sure that your endurance carries you all the way without failing, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. It's one of my favorite verses. You should welcome any opportunity that pushes you beyond your perceived limits. It's through discipline that we develop the resilience necessary to lead effectively in the face of adversity. And this applies to every facet of our life: physical, mental, spiritual, but it also applies to our leadership. Okay, here's the second lesson. Lesson 2 is that resilience builds trust. You know, recently I was leading one of the hardest events my team and I produce every year. It's an event where thousands and thousands of people attend. And on the day of the event, just 2 hours before we start, I get sick as a dog. I'm literally lying on the bathroom floor, clinging to a trash can for dear life. And my wife says, "What on earth are you going to do?" And I said, "What do you mean?" "I'm going to be there." And she was like, What? I said, "Yeah, man, I'll need a pillow, a trash can, and a miracle, but I'll be there." There's just something about that moment where I knew intuitively this was a moment. This is a moment where I would prove something, not just to my team, but to myself. I choose to be a resilient leader. I choose to be a leader that you can trust to show up, even when it feels impossible. I can be going through Hell Week, but I refuse to quit. You see, that is a choice. And when you make that choice and you demonstrate resilience, you gain something. You gain trust. And leadership is built on trust. Now, the opposite is also true. If you fail to demonstrate resilience, guess what you lose? You lose trust. And consequently, you lose credibility as a leader. Now, I know a lot of people who don't agree with that kind of mentality, right? They might say, "Look, that's toxic thinking," or "That's too extreme." And that's fine. You can have your opinion. But I'm just saying, I don't think anyone would want to follow you into battle if you don't have that kind of resilience. Look, there's a reason Navy SEALs trust each other. They've experienced Hell Week and they've proved themselves. Blood, sweat, tears, vomit, it doesn't matter. It doesn't stop them. It's the ones that don't quit, don't make excuses, that you want to charge into enemy lines with. Those are the people you want to follow. Those are the people that you want leading. Resilience builds trust. Here's lesson number 3. Trust builds loyalty. The stronger the trust, the greater the loyalty. People feel a profound commitment to those who have proven themselves trustworthy. Now, unfortunately, loyalty may be one of the most forgotten values, and it's really sad. And yet, I would argue that loyalty is one of the most important values known to mankind because it forms the very backbone upon which our communities are built. Loyalty is powerful. Loyalty can move mountains. Don't ever doubt it. In a world often marked by uncertainty and division, loyalty inspires commitment and perseverance. It creates a foundation of stability and hope that is absolutely intrinsically valuable. The Navy SEALs know this. For instance, they operate under a shared mission to protect and serve their country. And this unifying purpose is where their loyalty takes root. And that loyalty starts with trusting one another. Navy SEALs operate in high stakes environments where split second decisions can mean the difference between life and death. You can't withstand that kind of environment without deep loyalty to the person next to you and to the mission that you're on. You can't take life's hardest hits and get back up without a deep sense of loyalty, and you can't have loyalty without trust. Every member of a SEAL team must have complete confidence in their teammates' abilities, judgment, and commitment to fulfill their mission. The sense of belonging to something greater than oneself fosters this trust, which in turn builds loyalty. Think about how this applies to you and your leadership. Are you, as the leader, trustworthy? Have you cultivated an environment of trust? You can't expect people to be loyal to you or the mission that you are on unless you cultivate an environment of trust. Trust builds loyalty. Okay, here's the next lesson. Lesson 4. Loyalty leads to sacrifice. Sacrifice is all about dying to yourself for the greater good. Sacrifice is all about giving up something that really is valuable. It reminds me of a verse from the Bible that says, "Greater love has no one than this, that someone would lay down their life for their friend." I love how former Navy SEAL Jocko Willink applies self-sacrifice to leadership. He says, "It's all on you, but not about you. The moment you put your own interests above the team and above the mission is the moment that you fail as a leader." Without exception, the hardest and most glorious experience for every SEAL that I've ever read is the demonstration of true sacrifice. A fallen soldier laying down their life out of loyalty to the mission, loyalty to their fellow soldiers, loyalty to their country. I want to read you the words of Admiral William H. McRaven in one of his books, Sea Stories. The chapter is titled "Final Salute." "Along the way, there were moments and people I couldn't forget. I remember leading the funeral procession for Sergeant Doc Penny as soldiers from the 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment marched from the church in downtown Savannah to Penny's favorite pub on River Street. The entire town lined the roads and the streets and the highways, saluting and standing at attention, hats off, heads bowed, and tears flowing. I remember Ranger Ben Kopp, killed in Afghanistan, whose transplanted heart now beats in the breast of Judy Michael. I remembered watching the doctors in the combat hospital in Bagram as they tried to save SEALs Jason Freewald and Johnny Markham. Struck in the chest by multiple large caliber rounds, both men died on the operating table, and I was helpless to do anything about it. I remember the fatal crashes of helicopters Turbine 33 and Extortion 17, call signs that will never be used again, and men who will forever be memorialized. I could not forget the sacrifice of a Mike Murphy, Robbie Miller, Ashley White, or the thousands of others, all who gave some, but some who gave all. And I will never forget Section 60 at Arlington National Cemetery, the final resting place of so very many young heroes who fought in the wars after September 11th. At times, the pain and sorrow of the memories overwhelm me, and they often manifest themselves in awkward displays of emotion in large public settings, and I grew to be okay with that. Loyalty leads to sacrifice, and I think the leadership application is pretty clear. Are you a leader who is willing to lay down your life for those around you? Does your resolve go that deep? This brings us to our final lesson. Sacrifice leads to victory. There is no other path to victory except through sacrifice. The greater the victory, the greater the sacrifice. Now, I don't know what victory looks like to you. I hope that it's not just making more money this quarter. I hope that it's not just getting promoted or expanding operations. I hope victory for you looks like something much higher and much greater than all that. For me, victory is spending my life serving others and finishing well. Victory is being a faithful husband and father. Victory is being faithful to my vocational calling. Victory is having integrity till my last dying breath. Victory is inspiring others around me to make a difference with your one and only life. And I will know if I've been victorious with my life, if when I cross the finish line and I finally meet my maker and he says, well done, my good and faithful servant. Until then, I keep fighting the good fight. And that's my charge to you. But it's not my charge. I know at the end of every episode, I say, keep fighting the good fight. And it doesn't come from me. It comes from one of my historical heroes, the Apostle Paul. Paul lived a hard but meaningful life. He was mentoring a young man named Timothy, and he said, don't be afraid of suffering. Work at telling others the good news and fully carry out the ministry that God has given you. As for me, my life has already been poured out as an offering to God. The time of my death is near, and I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race, and I have remained faithful. I have always been inspired by that passage. In many ways, I think this is exactly what Navy SEALs inspire me to do. This is in a lot of ways what they have learned to embrace, a life of sacrifice for a greater good. That's what victory looks like to me. And it is a journey. Discipline builds resilience. Resilience builds trust. Trust builds loyalty. Loyalty leads to sacrifice, and sacrifice leads to victory. Look, I'm cheering you on, and I will always be here to say, keep fighting the good fight. Hey, if you found this episode meaningful, then I encourage you to watch this episode right here, where we look at something different than Navy SEALs. We look at leadership insights from 3 highly successful CEOs: Bob Iger of Disney, Howard Schultz of Starbucks, and of course, Elon Musk of Tesla, SpaceX, X, all the things that he's up to. It's a really fun conversation. I'll see you over there.